Mike, I'm going to digress here and ask you the question everyone wants to know, and that is, who shot JFK?
Oh, yeah. This guy named Chad. Most people don't know that. No, I think, yeah, the JFK. Oh my God, the JFK story. Um, it's there's only a handful of conspiracy theories that I think will never die. Right? There's not that many of them. JFK is one of them.
What wasn't that term conspiracy theory developed by the Warren Commission to try to
It
put
was.
shade on the fact that there was anything going on?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, and that's exactly where it first surfaced. As far as I know, it first surfaced
so their
through the
psyop
Warren
is
Commission reports.
that psyop worked on you and me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's never going to go away. I mean, my own personal opinion is that it's nowhere near as unsettled as the assassination of Martin Luther King, which I think is actually the one. If you had to say, okay, where do you think you would really want to spend your time in a very deep dive investigation, right? It would be Martin Luther King. I just think there's no way there weren't other elements to that, and it's just that one really is puzzling. There's too many dots that don't connect. JFK, I don't know. He had motive. He was desperate to try to show his allegiance and to the revolution. He had traveled down to Mexico, meet with the Soviets.
This is Lee Harvey Oswald, you're saying?
Lee Harvey
Yeah.
Oswald.
Okay.
Yeah, he had sufficient training. I've been up in that book depository. That was not a tough shot.
Really?
See a lot tougher shots out here in Idaho trying to take down an elk.
Even with that weapon. Even with that weapon.
Even with that weapon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and so again, having said all that, never say never. The one thing I have learned from hosting Black Files Declassified is never say never. There's always a possibility until you get, which you almost never do, 100% credible intelligence, pointing to, only one scenario. So, but I do think the assassination of Martin Luther King there's more to that than we know about. I just anyway, that's just me.
But it's kind of interesting. I don't know much about the details of the Martin Luther King assassination, but who is it chalked up to be? And then is it more likely to be something like the CIA or FBI?
Well, I think ultimately, without going into crucial detail, I think there was a sort of a cabal of local and state and federal, mostly agencies that felt it relevant to remove Martin Luther King from the scene. And I say that just because, there's when you look at the timeline, and that's kind of where you have to start, right? There's any investigation, right? You have to build it on solid ground, right? Otherwise, it's a house of cards, right? And that's where you can't start an investigation with supposition. You can't start an investigation with a theory, right? That's not how it works. You start with hard evidence. And oftentimes part of that evidence is the timeline. And there's too many questions about the shooter, about James Earl Ray, in terms of what he was doing leading up to the assassination of Martin Luther King, right? He went from being a two-bit unsuccessful, couldn't even be a successful two-bit petty criminal, right? He was inept. And then leading up to the day when Martin Luther King was shot, he had kind of transformed himself. He looked almost like a professor. He had, found and, somehow gotten enough cash to buy a Mustang, a vehicle, a Ford Mustang. He had kind of disappeared off the grid for a period of time, traveling through the South, and then he finds himself over in Europe afterwards, right, where eventually he was arrested, and all that from a two-bit petty criminal. And so, and I had a chance to interview his brother, And it's, now you got to take everything with a grain of salt, but, I found his story and the way that he described James Earl Ray and his ability to actually accomplish something like that on his own. I don't know. It seems interesting.
And then what does that mean if this was perpetrated by those agencies? I mean, that opens up, I guess, a lot of questions. And would it have been successful?
Because you had government involvement, would it have been successful?
But,
yeah, that is actually, no, you point to a very important part, which is, maybe the one thing that mitigates or refutes what I'm, suspicious of is the fact that if it had been, local and state, law enforcement or agencies working together along with, federal law enforcement perhaps, and that, they wouldn't be able to keep it a secret, right? It's kind of like why, I look at JFK and I think, okay, if someone had known, it would be a small circle. People just can't keep their yap shut, for, that long a period of time. Someone's going to talk. And so, yeah, maybe I'm just blowing smoke up, just thinking that, maybe there's something more to the MLK
no, it's interesting,
thing.
though.
But
I hadn't heard that before. Have you heard Oliver Stone talk about JFK? Because he goes really, really, really deep. He's got another movie that he brought out about it as well.
Yeah, no, I haven't. And Oliver Stone, he's an interesting cat. I guess we probably wouldn't agree on a lot. But look, I spent a lot of time, peeking behind the curtain, working with the agency. And sometimes things are as simple as they seem, right? Sometimes, and I think when you look at JFK, part of it is, why does suspicion last for so long? And part it's because we don't want to believe that something so impactful could be caused by one, moron, right? Somebody, one person, right, could have such an impact on so many people in the world. So maybe that's part of it. Again, never say never. I don't know.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.